Clearly, they were expected to make a choice. Either Baldoni or Ryan and Blake, and William Morris dropped Baldoni like a hot rock.
I loved seeing Colin Jost come back to Saturday Night Live last night with a joke at his wife, Blake Lively's expense.
Made it seem like a moral act of loyalty.
More fuel was just thrown by Saturday Night Live, burning in Justin and Blake Lively. The continuing legal dispute between Baldwin and this. Last time, it came directly from Colin Jost.
On Saturday Night Live, Colin Jost came back live and clearly made a joke at Blake Lively.
Now, if you believe that's arbitrary, let's include some more. Hollywood disaster in layers. Jost is married to Scarlett Johansson, who coincidentally to be the former spouse of Ryan Reynolds, and it is thought that they are married, struck the rocks following Reynolds alleged having an extramarital affair with Blake. Yes, Lively, you heard that just now. See that the drama develops organically itself.
To leave his A-list wife for one of the most despised actresses in Hollywood. It was back in 2010 when he was married to Scarlett Johansson. Then he allegedly cheated on her with actress Blake.
Now, before entering the interesting information about Colin's recent roast, recall that Blake and Reynolds were just during the SNL 50th anniversary celebration, where he took center stage a few weeks ago. Stage with that sardonic remark he made regarding the lawsuit filed by his wife.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds. Hey. Ryan Reynolds, how's it going?
Great. Why? What have you heard?
They gave the impression that everyone liked the humor, but believe me when I say that every media outlet's comment section that uploaded the video was in complete disarray. Reynolds most likely hasn't encountered this premium is weighing him down in his life. He ended up beating in an effort to salvage face it farther, and at this point Colin Jost, his loving ex-wife's husband, just added flavor to the already delicious drama. Additionally, you are aware that this episode of SNL gave a lot of attention to politics, particularly the entire scandal between Trump and Blake Lively, and Zelensky were still able to apprehend some significant strays.
Missiles so they can take the party to the next level. Zelensky was asked to leave the White House. Then he appeared on Fox News and said he thinks he can still salvage his relationship with President Trump, which is like Justin Baldoni saying, "I'd love to work with Blake again."
Shade is present, followed by Shade is the mother of this person. Now, SNL, everything makes sense in all shades, was not being gullible when they permitted Ryan Reynolds will attempt his husband's lawsuit. They were aware that by taking that he simply made himself available to them to make the case a common topic in their skits, that is, if the spouse could. Why are they unable to make fun of his wife's lawsuit? The fact that Colin Jost was the one who did it. Individuals that cast the gloom, you ought to understand that this was more than a joke. Accurate blow.
Your ex-wife's husband cracked this joke. The same ex-wife's husband whose show you decided to go make your first appearance on and let him write a joke for you that bombs. I mean, the whole thing is all next level.
We must submit it to SNL. With their moves, they're savage. Always anticipated that fans would dislike the reality that they let Ryan do what he wanted to do. They accepted the criticism that followed since they became the larger image squarely in their sights, and now, don't be upset, they're letting it rip. Shocked if there's a joke about Blake Lively. In each of the show's other episodes even, Colin burst out laughing before he figured out the joke.
Justin Baldoni saying, "I'd love to work with Blake again."
Ooh, and even the audience is like laughing, but like...
Simply said, these people are geniuses. Take a moment to be honest. You'd truly be certain that they're backing Blake, but they obviously didn't give a shit. Regarding her victim's sob narrative, they most likely don't trust anything she says in her lawsuit. They required a means of entry, and they were served it by Ryan Reynolds on a platter, and they're heading to the feast now. To the fullest extent possible, the golden. A couple should prepare for what's about to happen. Breaking.
It's cards of, yeah, clearly they know Blake Lively is crazy. And given the appearance, she's gonna have this same reaction of, wait a second, why are you making fun of me? I thought you had our back, Sarah Live. What's going on?
However, are you aware of what would be amusing if SNL decided to participate? Fair as if they wished to display some support for Blake and her spouse, they could have played the opposite part in this joke. Instead of introducing the humor with Justin Baldwin, they could have begun instead with Blake, although they didn't.
Justin Baldwin's never working with Blake Lively again. And notice, this joke could have been the other way around. That's like Blake Lively saying, yeah, I want to work with Justin again. They chose to make the butt of the joke on her, not on him.
That's all the evidence you require about Hollywood's actual thoughts on this drama. At first, they were influenced by Blake's narrative, and they firmly backed her. But after everything that was made public in recent weeks, her assertions' flaws have been exposed, and she is now seen by everyone for what she does. It truly resemble the Queen Mother? Lost her throne and her dragons are incapable of. SNL was discussing it this time, essentially informing us that it wasn't Lively who struggled on the set, it was sadly, Baldoni was being booted about.
Me is showing where Hollywood and all these people align, and this one was just far more interesting to talk about because given this whole appearance, which even Kevin Costner was like, what the hell?
Blake used every resource at his disposal to take over the movie she was playing. Justin pulls his chords like a guitar. In the most modest manner possible, she realized that Baldoni couldn't battle back while the film was still. She set up that meeting for the launch. He will meet her dragons in person and provide guidance, that he could see how strong she was, as well as what she might do to him if he attempted to make things challenging.
Blake leverages her friendship with Taylor Swift against Baldoni. She says, I'm like Khaleesi from Game of Thrones, and my husband Ryan and my best friend Taylor are my dragons. They inspire me.
When interacting with someone has artists like Taylor Swift in their corner, you must be astute. The Swifties are able to consume the largest, whether their favorite celebs want it or not, to bring up a little-known actor unexpectedly. While it's unclear how Taylor played a significant role in this story, one thing is certain: her supporters will encourage everyone she encourages. If she were Blake's description of a dragon, followed by her fire, would undoubtedly be powerful enough to eliminate her adversaries, recalling how they interacted with CJ.
Fan base. The Swifties just bombarded a restaurant owned by the mother of a Philadelphia Eagles player, CJ Gardner-Johnson, with terrible Yelp reviews, calling the place horrible, inedible, all that stuff, because CJ trolled Taylor.
The attorney for Brian Fredman Baldwin reacted to Ryan's strange joke regarding the litigation at SNL 50 when he made an appearance on You Should Be Familiar with Billy Bush's podcast by. Currently, he doesn't keep anything to himself. Some quite provocative things to say.
I think anybody who's been accused of heinous, arguably what are crimes, is on vacation. I think that he is trying to gather with his family and get some semblance of peace.
Keep in mind that, right after Lively's legal action fell like a dynamite, most of the cast concludes with us from Liz. Colleen Hoover unfollowed him after he planked. Some even went so far on social media as to remarks expressing support for Vibrant. However, after the outcome of her lawsuit, most of them are based on nothing, either removed their original posts or simply vanished from social media, which makes you question why they heedlessly backed Blake initially.
Ryan Reynolds had unfollowed him on Insta, so had Blake, so had the rest of the cast. Now you tell me, if you're an unknown actor in this film and you know that Blake and Ryan have turned on the no-name Justin Baldoni, who are you going to follow? These are weak, feckless people out in Hollywood. They have no spine. So, of course, they all unfollowed him and chose.
Considering Liz Plank and Colleen Hoover was among the people who turned away from Baldoni, shocking A. For many, the change was actually insane, nearly unreal. Yet what makes this so intriguing? Drama at the moment, the purported HR grievance. Paper that has been doing the rounds on. Nobody appears to be using social media these days to know how it got released, but yes, you can figure out who might have. Completed, however, the bizarre aspect is this. You'd wonder how much the document was redacted. Why it was even leaked in the first place. Dates were redacted.
Of these HR complaints, do you know the dates?
There's no dates. The dates are redacted. The names of the complainants are redacted, except for on one of them, there's an...
Why would you disclose A when you know it will be document? Impossible for anybody to determine if, whether it is real or not. The main idea of the purpose of releasing the HR complaint is to demonstrate that Lively's assertions regarding the two. It was true that other actors were being harassed. However, once the dates and names are redacted, it negates the entire purpose. How can we make sense of it, don't we? Particularly without the dates.
That's interesting. I understand why people could be redacted. I believe in certain privacy rights, certainly. But I'm not really clear on why dates would be redacted.
Recall, Sony was allegedly coerced by Lively into granting her permission to make the final cut of the film. In addition to that, she additionally made threats to hold a walkout that would blow up the movie's box office if Baldoni was permitted to go to the New York premiere. Obtained all she desired, but then but the shocking thing is, Sony has refuted her updated lawsuit, vehemently claimed that any HR complaint was submitted to them.
As Sony is concerned, I believe there's a Variety article that I read that's published, that's out there, that says Sony received no complaints.
Yeah, Sony has said they received no complaints.
With Sony denying any, getting a grievance makes you inquire as to whether the HR paperwork that has been, it's actually floating around. How is Blake doing? Likely to demonstrate that these co-stars genuinely complained about being harassed. You would anticipate that these women would have made a declaration of some kind, given that they were mentioned in her revised suit, but none has mentioned the. Even so-called victims are unable to come out and describe their experience. What does that say regarding this lawsuit's integrity? Additionally, Blake Wayfarer denied ever getting a grievance from a co-star. If no complaint was received by any party, does that imply that the document is floating? Was cooked. So I suppose that explains why the dates were also redacted. All other useful bits are correct.
I'm unaware of any other, frankly, HR complaints that have been filed. And I think if you look through the website and you look through the documents, you can see clearly from certain documents that there were no HR complaints.
When questioned about what he remembered Ryan's strange SNL joke, Brian disclosed it at the 50th anniversary event was only one of several mistakes. Lively and her spouse continues to win this war. It demonstrates to him how desperate they are to rewrite the story in themselves' favor, and similar to all previous attempts they've taken in the last few weeks too, that they once more failed.
I'm unaware of anybody, frankly, whose wife has been sexually harassed and has made jokes about that type of situation.
That is precisely the reason why people were confused. Ryan's choice to make such a remarks on Saturday Night Live. This is a major. This case we're working on is really big, where your wife said she was subjected to harassment. Imag in the most filthy manner. How could you ridicule that in public of her colleagues in the field and anticipate that they consider it a humorous meme of some sort? In all honesty, Ryan destroyed himself and his spouse's. With such move, its reputation is further enhanced. They've been being cooked, which is not surprising, throughout the entire internet since. Then it's well worth it.
Of anyone who's done anything like that. And
Blake Lively is aware that she is formally in a crisis, and she's not simply. She's calling in a public relations expert. The huge guns which we define as an Yes, you heard it, a real former CIA operative. Yes, the woman who established her brand on performing with ease on the Upper East. Siders is currently seeking legal counsel from someone with terrorist training. If you tried, you couldn't make this up.
Blake Lively is now hired, CIA alum, as her own crisis PR agent in the legal battle.
A man with a unique style, Nick Shapiro. Resume so fierce that it sounds as though a scene from a Jason Bourne film. Prior to entering the realm of celebrity damage control at high stakes, Shapiro served as the deputy chief of the CIA's employee and additionally functioned as a national Obama administration security spokeswoman. This man has experience with administration, serious cyber threats from counterterrorism, assaults, actual worldwide calamities, and he is currently handling Blake's fallout. The complaint that Lively filed against Justin Bologna, since it seems that a public relations crisis is equally serious as a national emergency. Breach of security.
Have you heard? Yeah, okay. Well, my question is that, you know that the materials that they made the cone heads with, are those edible?
Edible?
The legal staff at Lively has verified Shapiro's involvement in hired to manage legal correspondence, approach which is just a fancy expression for the need for someone who can get this mess cleaned up before it becomes any even worse. And let's face it, that move you don't call, but alone screams desperation in a person who has dealt with global disasters. Unless you are aware of, you are losing command of the story.
Our own crisis PR team now is trying to spin all the articles in her favor. And I'm sorry, isn't that what you're accusing Justin of doing when you were out there leaking stories?
The current query is, what is Lively exactly? Is she preparing for a big event? Legal dispute that is about to become radioactive in the media? Or is this merely an extravagant attempt to create Baldoni back down in any situation? But one thing is, Lively is obviously playing hardball, and she is ensuring that everyone is aware of it. But what's hilarious about this Shapiro guy was said to have taken center stage in the controversy surrounding Joe Biden's son, the purported laptop used by Hunter Biden that would have greatly exposed him.
Who helped to cover up Hunter Biden's laptop.
You can now picture Shapiro's level was having fun at prior to joining Hollywood, but this is really amazing. Baldoni isn't completely helpless in the PR department, or Lively is assembling a team of former intelligence. Bologna's officials have already obtained his own media powerhouse, but in contrast to Lively isn't rushing to get it back control, because thus far he's triumphing in court.
Liberals always play like we never play dirty, we never do anything, just like Blake Lively's doing. We never do anything wrong. They absolutely covered up Hunter Biden's laptop.
This abrupt change in Lively's approach has also drawn criticism on the extent of the harm caused by this lawsuit. Is publicly harming her brand. She's remained in the position that she's battling for justice, but behind the scenes in which she appears to be doing all in her power to halt this lawsuit from falling apart entirely and employing to handle your legal drama, a former spy. That's not precisely what an innocent person would do. Someone does.
This guy was one of the group of 51 senior intelligence officers who signed the widely cited and subsequently criticized 2020 open letter stating that the Hunter Biden laptop has all the classic earmarks of a Russian.
What is the actual question? Does Lively understand that we don't? If she is bringing in a CIA agent level of crisis management abilities, then a court struggle might be far more significant, more than everyone initially believed.
That is now who Blake Lively is relying on, this crisis PR person. It's nuts.
You've heard of Justin Baldoni. Didn't enter this legal battle by accident. From a mile away, he could see it approaching and made the necessary preparations months before Blake. Even Lively initiated a lawsuit against Baldoni, made a strategic decision that's now. In August, he proved to be a game changer. Hired Melissa Nathan, a powerful crisis manager most renowned for managing. Johnny Depp's compelling argument against. That's correct. Baldoni brought the Amber Heard in the same PR mastermind that provided assistance, restored Depp's reputation throughout. Among the most discussed celebrities, trials that have occurred recently.
Like, you hired a crisis PR person because here it was. This is what you, allegedly, this is what Team Blake leaked back in August 13th as things were brewing, before it really got to a head.
For you to comprehend how long this public relations game has been ongoing, and I have. To provide some background, let's start with Baldoni's hiring of Melissa Nathan appeared suddenly and went public. Knowledge, that is, months prior to. Nobody was even aware of what was happening. It was evident behind the scenes that Blake's first impression of Baldoni, getting ready and armed for every potential actions she could take, went into action and purportedly disclosed the announcement that he has hired a crisis manager.
Justin hired a crisis PR team because he was hearing the rumblings. There were things leaking about him that were false. So he hired a crisis PR, and then Blake's team allegedly found out and leaked.
You should be aware that every single one of this was prior to any legal action or complaints that appeared out of nowhere and articles that were kept surfacing regarding Baldoni's hiring of Melissa. Nathan has various theories regarding the explanations for his hiring her. Many didn't acknowledge the inorganic nature of these items were due to the drama at the moment, has not burst, nor have secrets been disclosed, although it was evident that this game had been occurring for months prior to. Everyone was aware.
Depp during the Amber Heard trial, almost seemingly trying to shame him. Like, oh, look what he's resorted to. Johnny Depp's crisis PR one. You know, the one that lied about Amber.
Even despite this, Blake's chose to call an ex-CIA operative. It's crucial to remember that. Founded by Melissa Nathan, the agency group is also not a slouch. They have a list of Tier 1 celebrities clients, like the chain, Drake, Logan Paul, and smokers, to mention a few, and everyone has faith in her with their standing. This is most likely the reason Blake became alarmed. Knew Melissa Nathan sufficiently that she attempted to reduce her risks of everything for Baldoni. As soon as she discovered that she had joined his ranks, you could suggest that she most likely used the notorious piece in the New York Times regarding Baldoni. She desired to perform at a level far superior to Melissa's.
For him is what I saw that says, yeah, good for him. He could use the help, just like Johnny did. But they tried to weaponize this against him. And what's really scary about this is that it seems to already be working.
There are numerous facets to this drama, lost quickly, and the story is so profound that what more are they not telling us, I wonder? Or what hasn't been made public, at least. Baldoni has yet to hire one of the top industry professionals in damage control. He has personally witnessed Lively's abilities, wondering how far she would go to silence him from informing him of what she did. If Baldoni wins this behind the scenes struggle in court, it won't only clear his name, it will reveal how the media contributes to influence celebrity controversies and have the power to. The New York Times will openly withdraw its publicity, and considering Melissa Nathan's history, it's safe to state that Baldoni is not merely seeking a peaceful. He's playing the long game with the settlement, and he could walk if his plan works, getting out of the situation not just vindicated, but more potent than before.
She's trying to spin it a win, but what's very telling is look who's doing it for her. Deadline PR putting out there is a win and hires crisis PR vet.
In the meanwhile, Lively's group is rushing to stop every action he made. Baldoni is presenting himself as a harmed man retaliating against biased media and Hollywood politics. Lively's former CIA crisis narratives. Nick Shapiro, the manager, has a lot of work ahead. The battle lines have been out for him, drawn, and now it's more than simply a lawsuit, a full-fledged public relations battle.
Her own crisis PR team now is trying to spin all the articles in her favor. And I'm sorry, isn't that what you're accusing Justin of doing when you were out there leaking?
If this situation has been on your radar. If you pay careful attention, Blake Lively just hit a significant obstacle in her legal battle against this one and Justin Baldwini. She believed she could have her stings hands-on for 2 complete years of the call from Baldwin, records location and even text messages, data mining each discussion, and since 2022, but a federal judge just informed her that she should not.
Justin's phone records going back 2 years was called overly intrusive, limiting the window to their time together behind the scenes.
Judge Lewis. Not only did Lyman turn down her request, but he essentially referred to it as an invasion of. He decided that Lively's requests for privacy were very invasive and disproportionately highlighting the glaring error in Lively's allegations against. Since Baldwini was only created in early 2024, why was she looking for a mess? 2-year-old messages.
Definitely, each party wants to get as much information as possible and make this process as burdensome as possible for the other side. Any piece of evidence could certainly aid Blake Lively's claims, but not everything is relevant and not everything is evident.
The ruling is a significant victory for Baldwini, who has been resisting what he refers to as an attempt at Lively's fishing expedition to unearth everything that would lead to him appear awful. And let's be honest, Baldwin's. This is being handled by the legal team as they contended in the championship match that Lively was on a mission and wasn't pursuing justice. Desperate search for evidence that could harm. It just doesn't exist.
Years of innocuous text messages do not seem to support her underlying claims, but some of those text messages.
You should be aware of Blake's PR at this time. The machine keeps spinning. Genuinely attempted to paint the enormous. She saw the loss as a sort of victory. The article began to whirl her around. Subpoenas as a beneficial measure, implying that it wasn't a significant event, when everyone was aware that.
Look how these articles are already starting to spin this.
It's crucial to remember that. Whereas the judge closed the majority of, he refused to give Baldwini Lively's demands. The court decided that certain third-party subpoenas may still be issued ahead, so Lively may still receive access to specific communications only. Not every one of them. It's a minor victory in A. It maintains the door open despite the sea of losses. For further drama,
what she requests, which were completely overreaching records. And the judge is like, you can't have that. And then they're like, I mean, you have to ask for it specifically on your...
Yet instead of revealing the tale as it is with all these significant articles attempted to portray it as some sort of win, and if she thought she had won, why would she make the announcement very instantly that an Exia agent was recently added to her rankings as she possesses the greatest? It's clear that the PR and crisis team already. She is becoming less confident in their talents. She was more shaken by that defeat than she was concerned to acknowledge, since she was unwilling to look feeble.
It's like, it's a win. It's a win. That's exactly what I wanted. You wanted to waste the court's time? Why? Why are you wasting?
Every new decision has only made it became obvious that Lively's situation had significant holes in them, and she's having trouble repair in spite of her alleged world-class team. A judge would never do that. Send a subpoena to examine Baldwin's digital footprint spanning 2.5 years ago. It will never occur, and if her attorney was unaware of that, perhaps she should ideally hire fresh ones from the CIA as well.
Tailored win so I can really get what I want, which is to talk to the people specifically. No, you didn't. You wanted to ask everybody. You wanted to figure out who was actually they were talking to so you could figure out all these, untraced.
Use a trial set. March 2026. This legal battle is far from over. From the previous couple months, and had shown any signs that things are just. Messier will be on one side of Blake. Ryan Reynolds and Lively are going all out in hiring former CIA agents and intensifying their public relations campaigns. They have the biggest stars in Hollywood supporting them, but their approach is, are they beginning to raise eyebrows, bolstering their argument, or just frantically attempting to manage the Currently, Justin Baldwin is keeping a long-term perspective while lively, and baloney has made headlines with Reynolds. Been accumulating wind where it truly issues before the court. His legal team is blocking subpoenas and retaliating. Anti-positioning and smear tactics. He is the battle's true victim. And with a public relations staff that assisted Johnny Depp taking down the Amber Heard might mean the end, ending up being a clean sweep. So what is from here? It all continues with millions of cash, careers, and reputations on the line. Neither side is retreating. Shortly, while Hollywood looks on, as this conflict progresses, one thing stands out: crystal evident that this is not your typical litigation. It's a full-scale conflict. Which side are you on? Let us know in the comments and keep checking back, since this battle is just getting began.